All right, so Sean McVay had his first press conference of training camp. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this, and I will provide my thoughts.
Vaccination. And so some of those guys are in the process of getting that started, within the last week. Les, Reggie Scott, Cassandra Garcia, they've done such a good job of really helping, give guys the opportunity to understand where we're coming from. But I think you do want to be understanding and respectful of everybody has an individual approach that, resonates with me and where you want to be empathetic to why they may feel good or why they might have concerns. But our guys have done a great job of, kind of trying to, educate us on their perspective. And we've gotten close to 100% of our guys that are committed to doing that, which is good.
So you would expect by the time the season starts, you at this point in time could project that you guys would be at 100%?
I would say that it'll be around there. If certain guys feel adamant that they don't want to, totally respect and understand that. But I think for me as a coach, you want to be understanding of it. But what it does do is it eliminates some of the, the things that you naturally have to just navigate through with the obstacles that are in place, whether you are or aren't, some of the protocols that we have to follow. So I feel like we're in a really good place, and it's not going to be any reason for it to be a distraction for our team.
Are you okay with the protocols that the league has set up? The possibility of forfeits, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm okay with it because really, spending any sort of energy on it isn't going to change anything. And so I think it's important to understand and be educated on what those things are and try to do everything in our power, Kevin, to not let it be a factor and bad things for the Rams.
I know there are a lot of running backs that you like here. What are the possibilities of bringing Todd Gurley back into the fold?
I don't think that's something that we're exploring right now, just the veteran route. Todd's obviously been a huge part.
Shoot. All right, look, just real quick. Look, guys. Todd's not coming back. All right, Todd's not coming back. I've seen this a little bit from people who think that it's possible that he could come back, and I'm afraid he's not coming back. There was it didn't really end well, which is unfortunate because I really like Todd Gurley. I have his jersey. He seems like a cool guy, but things just did not end well. There was a lot of dispute with his money. Him and I guess Clay Matthews are the linebacker that we had. There were some disputes with them getting paid, and just didn't end well. So I will be very surprised if they re-sign him. But I just like how Sean answered that. It's like, it's not really the route we're going to. Like, yeah, I know you're not going to sign him, but hey, if they do, I'd be very surprised.
A lot of good things for the Rams. And, I know for me personally, I'm very grateful for all the good things that Todd did and what that meant for our team's success and the leader that he was, Sam. But I think what I'm interested is different than a couple years ago when you bring CJ in. This, unfortunately for Cam, we're going to miss him a lot, and he's meant a whole lot to this football team over the last year, and I think he will for years to come. But Daryl Henderson's played really good football. We've got an opportunity, leading up into that September 12th date against the Bears to really say, okay, what can Calais do? What can Jake Funk do? What can Xavier Jones do? How do
There we
these
go.
guys
There we
really
go.
illustrate, their skill sets on the practice field? And then to say that you would never do it, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into that, but we are going to use camp as an opportunity to let Thomas Brown pour into these guys and see how they compete and how they handle probably a little bit heavier workload than they anticipated.
Coach, what is this like for, obviously it's camp again. You're back together. You've got that same energy level. Obviously you've been doing this now for a few years here.
I'm a grizzled vet now.
I know. What is it like now for you? Like, still got that excitement, ready to go? Let's get these guys all together.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's good just to be back in person. And, I can't remember the last time we did an in-person, even just media session. So everything about just leading into this is always an exciting time of year for us as coaches and players. There's a lot of change and transition, and a lot of that's been for good reasons for us. And so I think we're just excited to get that process started. We're not going to win the Bears game right now, but we're going to just build blocks and get ourselves ready to go to try to be the best team that we can, and also really enjoy, that process and kind of just being where your feet are planted. I think that's a big focal point, for our team, for myself, for our coaches, and I think that'll help us, be able to enjoy that. And I think, if you do have those processes in line and you're able to adjust and adapt, then, the results in a lot of instances take care of themselves, not to be too cliche for you.
Daryl, what kind of growth or improvement have you seen during the time you've had him in the building? And what's your level of confidence if he's the day one back?
A lot of confidence. I mean, if you look at through the first half of the year last year, this has never been an ability question for Darrell Henderson. This is, all right, how do we find a strategic and a structured way to keep him available for all these games? And
There you go.
what does that workload look like? Because he is the most established guy in that room. And when you can see when he gets the ball in his hand and he puts his foot in the ground, there's a burst, and he's sturdy too. I think about some of the tight red zone runs that he had against the Bills. You look at the way he's able to accelerate through the hole against Philly. He can make plays in the pass game as well. So I think he is a complete back, very similar to how you've heard me talk about Cam. What our biggest challenge is not figuring out if he's capable of doing it. It's finding that sweet spot of, all right, how do we maximize Darrell Henderson while also getting some of these other guys involved and figuring out, all right, what is that touch point to keep him healthy throughout the regular season and a big part of our offense, which he's going to be. But it's never been an ability. It's just, all right, is he available? Because the guy's a baller, and I'm excited to see what he'll do with this.
So
What other
then,
position groups are going to require the biggest decision?
I think a lot of the
So I like what he said there. I too am very excited about Darrell Henderson. I believe he will surprise a lot of people this year. I think I'm happy to hear that he's high on him because I believe he will do well. And like Sean just said, it's been a health issue because Darrell unfortunately is a bit injury prone. And he tends to get hurt a lot, which is why they really haven't made him the workhorse. And why I believe, and I know they believe this too, why they shouldn't make him the workhorse this year. I believe a more running back by committee approach is preferred here. I believe that despite that you can't shy away from the run game, you need to continue to run. And I believe balance is the key, but in this first year with Matthew, until he gets adjusted, I'd say maybe run a little more. With the power run, just make things easy for Matthew as a whole to gel. You invested in a lot of these young running backs that are talented. Xavier Jones, Jake Funk, Calais Campbell, Otis Anderson. Use them, man. Use them. You can never. Running back is a position where, we've seen teams take random running backs and perform well with them. So I'm just saying I like what I hear, and I'm very excited to see Darrell. Running back will be a position of interest in training camp when it begins.
Position groups, Kevin, but I think where you're looking at, all right, where are we in situations where maybe some of these guys are a little bit greener or haven't had the opportunity to play in meaningful games yet? I think you're looking at, I think Justin Hollins has really inserted himself as a really good player opposite Leonard Floyd that has a versatile skill set, but our outside linebacker group outside of Floyd, and then Hollins has done a lot of good things last year, but he's still an ascending player in terms of accumulating that experience. So that outside linebacker position is going to be something that we really look closely at. You're looking at a couple of the, some of the deeper spots. I was really pleased with what David Long did at the corner. And then anytime you lose a player like John Johnson, that Taylor Rapp's done a lot of really good things. Really excited about what Jordan Fuller did last year. And then I thought Terrell Burgess was just playing his best football when he ended up getting that ankle injury. But those are guys that you have a lot of confidence in what they can do, but then actually getting that tangible experience where now you're playing in these meaningful games that count. That's going to be the thing that I'm excited to see from those guys.
We kind of out of the picture without his kick returning.
I think that's up in the air, and that's something that we've talked about, for the last handful of months with Joe D and with Coach Stukes and figuring those guys out. We have a lot of candidates that are capable of doing it. Exactly, who's doing it week one against the Bears is to be determined, and that's the beauty of having a little bit of time to get it figured out.
Sorry, put in perspective how impressive it's been what Matthew Stafford was able to do for all those years without a running game in Detroit. I mean, how significant is that?
I think, I didn't go back to really study, okay, what were the situations in the games and how much pressure that put on him. But what I was impressed with, and I think anybody that's really done their work on Stafford, is just, you always see from afar, this guy's a really good player. He'll kind of make those highlight play throws. But then when you really study the intricacies of what the quarterback position entails, you're really seeing a guy play the position in the hardest spots at an elite level, the known passing situations, navigating a rush, having a feel for how to manipulate and move coverage. Those are the things that stand out. And then when you get a chance to spend some time with him, I was talking to Jordan about this earlier. I think one of the things that's underrated is, he's so talented and he has such a great ability to make all types of throws that sometimes that is accompanied with a gunslinger mentality, and it almost minimizes how smart and sharp he is. His recall and his ability to have a bunch of different experiences and that accumulation of experience where he knows how to apply it the right way is one of the things that I've been as impressed with as anything. And really excited to get going with this guy.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
Totally. Even just something as simple as understanding how to manipulate a rush to deliver a screen on a no look that, you're not really, it might be a 6-5 yard game, but the level of detail and the way that, he's able to echo and articulate what he's doing and what the intent behind it is it's pretty impressive. And, I know that, he's just got a good way. I don't know if he's got a chance to spend any time with him, but he's one of those guys that he's very present when you're with them, and he's just got a really good feel for people, and it's just authentic and genuine to who he is.
Sean, I want to go back
High
to what you
IQ.
were talking about Thomas Brown earlier. When you have a decision to make, exercising patience because something as brutal as what happened to Cam happened.
Sure.
What is it about Thomas Brown, maybe it's the fact that he's a former player, his personality, youth, coaching ability, that may or may not help in that you guys can be patient instead of jumping on, a veteran back who's currently available?
Well, I think number one, just having a leader in Thomas Brown that will consistently pour into these guys. You talked about it, just the perspective he has from playing the position, then also being a coach at a really high level. And you know how highly I think of him in terms of your ability to communicate, your ability to connect with your players, your capacity for the game. And then, he's really working to try to help these guys reach their highest potential. He's doing things. I always think the people that are best at their jobs, everybody's got a role and a job description of what you're supposed to do. Average people, they kind of take it and they're just checking. They're just kind of just doing their job. And then other people redefine their job. They take what, hey, here's the baseline, and then they make it that much better. We're saying, man, that's a great job. That's what Thomas Brown has done with his role since he's gotten here. That's why he's going to do a great job as an assistant head coach. I love the fact that he's one of those guys that we've known each other for a while, but he's so self-assured that he's always going to be able to tell you exactly how he's seeing it, even if it's not in alignment with sometimes the way that I see it. And I think that's a really valuable thing. And I know that he is well equipped to put that room in a position to have some success. And I know he's excited about the opportunity while also, really bummed out for Cam because of the relationship that those two guys have.
As much as you want to exercise patience and see how those young guys develop and evaluate them, is there a timetable or a timeline that you would put yourself on during the preseason as far as the number of competitive situations and getting to a certain point where you feel like you're good with what you have instead of going after that veteran option?
Yeah, it's a good question, Stu. I think that as you get closer to that Bears game, if really things don't really start to become more and more clear as you're accumulating those practice reps, I think the level of urgency starts to increase. But I do think that there's going to be a lot of examples of us being able to evaluate that. You look at just going at offense versus our defense with the different things that our defense can present. I really look at the 3 competitive opportunities that we have, 1 against the Cowboys and the 2 against the Raiders, as, real kind of preseason games while minimizing some of the risk for injury. And so those will be really good opportunities to evaluate these guys. They'll be thrown in competitive situations, starting on Wednesday that they wouldn't have otherwise if Cam and Darryl are your guys. And so I think it'll become more and more clear as they accumulate those reps, but to put a finite date on it, I don't know, but the level of urgency increases as we get closer to September 12th.
So Darryl, we play a preseason game. least?
No, Daryl will not play in a preseason game. I can promise you, you're not seeing Daryl Henderson in the preseason.
Starting center.
So what I feel really good about, Austin's ability to do that. We know he's played really high level ball at the guard position, and Brian Allen is a guy that's played good football for us too, Sam. So I think we're really in the midst of figuring out what does that best, collaboration and collection of those 5 guys up front look like. I was really pleased with what Brian Allen did throughout the course of the spring. I was really pleased with what Austin Corbett did. So we're going to figure that out. And I think Coleman Shelton is another guy at the center spot that, man, we've always really liked what he's done. He's got a great poise about himself, but, getting more opportunities to physically illustrate what he can do on the field is something that I'm excited about. But, when we line up the first team period, Austin will take that first rep, but he could start at right guard. He could start at center. Brian Allen is definitely going to get an opportunity to compete, and I think he's earned that, and so we'll see what it looks like.
Right.
Anybody on PUP?
Nobody's on PUP right now.
Anyone you like to be cautious with the first week or two because of injury?
I think the one thing is talking to Reggie and his group does such a great job. We put our plan in place in terms of the schedule with walkthroughs and practices to be mindful of, all right, there's a lot of guys that are ready to go, and there's a lot of guys that maybe they haven't had the access to some of the facilities, but there's nothing quite like playing football. And so being smart about onboarding it, but we always have the guys that are the high risk or the guys that have accumulated more experience just based on years accumulated and accrued in the league. You're always careful with those, the Whitworths of the world, Aaron, Cooper, Robert, guys that have played a lot of football that naturally just you had to put a governor on them because they're just going to go. So there's always a couple guys like that, but as far as the PUP and anything like that, nobody's come in right now. Our veterans have not truly reported yet. It's just been our rookies and our quarterbacks. So those guys will report later on today or whatever today is. What's today? Monday? So tomorrow they'll report, tomorrow morning.
Hey, John, when you guys made the decision to move Austin over into center this spring, there was a lot of conversation and in the spring as well about some schematic changes, things that you've been integrating for the last couple of years, especially with Cam as your lead back the latter half of the season, some of the power stuff instead of that strictly wide stuff.
Sure.
Obviously, Austin has a different body type than Brian, and that's into the draft profiles and things like that. So in terms of them competing, is it dependent on the running back? Is it dependent on maybe a scheme change again because of Cam not being available? Or is this strictly just, hey, we want to see these 2 guys compete here?
Yeah, no, it's a good perspective. I think that you have kind of a foundation of how you want to operate philosophically, offensively, and to your point, it's a great observation that we did start to implement a little bit more gap and trap stuff because that was right in alignment with some of Cam's patience and the skill set that he had. I think Daryl can still do that, and I'm hopeful that the other backs can, but I'll be interested to see how it unfolds. I think you do want to say, all right, if it is a guy that, like whether it's Austin or Brian, you always still want to play to their skill sets. But I think these guys are both pretty versatile centers. The thing that's interesting about Austin Corbett, which is why you say, all right, can he project? He had a lot of preseason snaps a couple years ago at the center position for the Browns. Played left tackle in college. When he came to us on short notice, he's starting games playing really well at left guard. And then last year, you saw him play elite at the right guard spot. I thought he played really well as the season progressed. And I thought, Coach Cromer, our O-line coaches, did a great job of helping him continue to progress and grow. And so that's why you say, all right, just the natural athleticism and movement and then the size that he has, I don't think there's really any limitations to his game. It's just going to be the comfort and the communication, the snaps, the accuracy when you're in the gun, because that's such a big part of just this league in general now. And those are things that, sometimes you can take for granted because it becomes such an automatic process of you're just watching a game. Oh, it's just normal, but it's not as easy as it looks. So those are the things that we're interested in evaluating. And then based on, who ends up becoming the better player or what we feel like gives us the best mix of 5 players is what we'll go with. And then we'll kind of adjust accordingly.
Your group of rookies drafted seem like a real bunch of different personalities. Anything jump out at you?
What jumps out at you? A bunch of different personalities. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm actually quoting Robert Rochelle. I asked him yesterday, what does this rookie class bring to the team? And he said personality.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement, and think the consistent thing that you'd like to say in terms of the types of players that we want on board, these are good quality guys. They're good guys that they love football, and I think that's one of the things that's consistent. I also think the beauty is in kind of some of the different personalities, and that's what makes the group fun, and they kind of balance each other out. But the consistent things that you're seeing is there were certain things that kind of embody the types of guys. And I think you guys can appreciate the types of players that we have. These are good quality guys that we're going to work with, and they all really like football. Because I think you get exposed, especially here, because try to make the main thing the main thing. It's all about football, and if you don't love it and you're not passionate about it, you'll get exposed, and we don't have guys like that, and that's what I think that rookie class reflects as well. All right.
Okay. Okay. My thoughts. I really liked the press conference, personality, he says. Personality. It does seem to be a running theme ever since Sean joined the team a few years ago. Him and Les seemed to draft a particular type of player. They like drafting guys who are very high IQ, very smart football players, very versatile football players, very, very team oriented. They don't draft any type of divas, any type of guys with certain type of attitudes, guys who just seem to be kind of really down to earth, guys who just love football. You hear all the time in college, you got the whole team, but not everyone may be invested in football. The same in high school and in college. Some guys are on the team, and and that's it. They're not invested in the success with it. And it sounds like the Rams are drafting guys who are very team oriented and very much want that success and will work towards that success and bettering themselves and the team, which makes me very excited for to see some of these rookies and some of the draft picks they have drafted in years prior. See how they do. It's I'm very excited to see Jordan Fuller and Terrell Burgess. I thought he spoke very highly of them in the defensive backfield. I think ankle injuries are no joke, man. Trust me. But Terrell Burgess, if he can get back from that, I think will be a breakout player in the safety role. They might, I would guess, I don't know what they're going to do, but I would say free safety is where he's going to be going. But yeah, so I've come to trust this staff in how they pick draft players, and Sean seems to be very excited about them, and they seem to be bought in for this season, so that's good. He also talked about Austin Corbett, and as you know, the O-line is going to be a position of interest throughout this camp, because they are going to be so vital against some of these physical teams that we're going to be playing, namely in our own division, like San Francisco, like Arizona, Seattle. And they're going to be an important cog. And one of the most important cogs is the center. He talks to the quarterback. He helps read coverages. They need to be on the same page. And Sean seems to like what Austin Corbett's doing. He seems to like what Brian Allen's doing. I personally just, I'm not a big fan of Brian Allen. Yeah, not on a personal level, but just when he was playing, he just did not perform well. But hey, who knows? Maybe he has trained and he's played a lot better, and maybe the coaches see something and he could play well. I don't know, but it just would appear that Austin Corbett is definitely going to be the man. I'm very excited to see that. I've seen fans kind of talk about him and they're very high on him. I don't know a lot about him, but everyone seems to be high on him. Everyone seems to think he's going to do well, so I'm excited. Very excited. I wish we would have drafted Creed Humphrey to let him sit behind Corbett, but that's old news. There's no need to go back to that. Yeah, but he talked about that. He talked about Matthew, and there was a particular word Sean said in this press conference that really stood out to me. When describing Matthew Stafford, he used the word present. He used the word present. He said he is very present when he is with him. What I take away from that is what he's saying is Matthew is paying attention. He's learning. He's when Sean is teaching him about his the playbook and the plays and what he wants from his quarterback, what coverages, where he wants his quarterback to go with certain coverages and where to fall back on certain if plays break a certain way. It seems Sean is very happy with the fact that Matthew is providing him a sort of dialogue. There's a back and forth. Okay, there isn't like Sean's talking his ear his ear off, and he's looking like deer in the headlights, like he's not even paying attention. And I know I sound like I rag on him a lot. I've mentioned it personal a few times. Jared Goff. I don't have anything against Jared. I like Jared, but a big criticism that I've had of him, and I think a lot of people have as well, though a lot of people don't really want to come and outright say it. I don't know if Jared necessarily put in the work to better himself as much as he could have. I don't know if Jared studied as much as he potentially could have. And I don't know if Jared was mentally sharp enough to read coverages at a quick rate, because you need these players are so fast. You need to be able to read what the defense is doing, and you need to react to that in real time. And I just think Jared just that whole process of seeing the field, he seems to take a little longer than most people. And look, I'm just, I'm not the sharpest tool either. It'd probably take me forever and a day to read the coverages and react, So it's not like a personal attack on Jared. It's just a mere observation. And it was a frustrating one because it was the same issues year in and year out. He just wasn't getting better, and he didn't even seem like he wanted to get better, which was the most frustrating thing. And if you look at Sean and how he said Matthew was present, and how he went on for like 5 minutes straight about how good Matthew is at reading defenses. He was talking about the screens and what to do with that, and how present he is, and how he just knows what to do. You could tell that there's a certain amount of relief in Sean. That is obvious. I think he is very relieved that Matthew is his quarterback now, because I believe Sean was having to work a lot harder than most of the other head coaches in the NFL had to work harder than most of the other coaches in the NFL because Jared was lacking in certain facets of his game, and Sean had to make up for that and almost kind of had to hold his hand a little bit. And that you can if you cannot have that, man. Like in the playoffs, you can't have depend on the coach to tell you what to do. You have to make the decision. You have to know what to do in real time and not stare in deer in the headlights and go to pieces when the line gets blown up and these big defensive linemen are bearing down on you. And I know it's not easy, but that's the job you took. So very, very, very pleased to see how pleased and relieved Sean appears to be and how happy he is. Sean he seems very energized. He seems very ready to go. And that's making that's getting me geeked up right now because he looks like a man on a mission right now. And from what I'm hearing from the other, how everyone's bought in, the team is on a mission too. I have said it before. I do believe this is going to be a special season. Okay? I do believe it's going to be a special season, but I'm not going to. That's why I didn't do like a prediction of the season because I don't want to do that. I don't want to look to the playoffs, you know, in what the Rams could accomplish there, because I feel we're in for something special, and I want to be able to absorb all this magic as much as I can. And in order to do that, I'm just gonna enjoy every day, every moment of the day. So training camp, I'm gonna enjoy watching these press conferences and recording these videos for y'all. I'm going to enjoy surveying and looking at these new position battles within camp on the offense and the defense. You know, seeing who stands out. I'm going to enjoy seeing which rookies make a name for themselves. Jacob Harris is my pick, and Jake Funk. I think those two are going to stand out the most. I'm going to enjoy all the little practices for camps, all the position battles. I'm going to enjoy all the seeing this team grow, seeing these young men better themselves and the team better themselves. I'm going to enjoy the preseason, watching some of these depth players get their shot and kind of show off. I'm going to enjoy watching John Wolford, who I would have been happy going into the season as the number one. Had the trade for Matt Stafford not happen, I would have been all in on John Wolford to lead us into the 2021 season. And I think he could have led us to the playoffs too. I still think he can. I do. I'm very high on him. And I think we're going to need him, knock on wood, before this is all over. Okay? But I'm going to be excited to see that. And then I'm going to be excited to watch Sunday Night Football against the Bears. And only the Bears in the moment. And then the following week, and the following week, and the following week, absorbing all this magic, all as much as I can, because I do believe we are in store to see something special. So enjoy it, Rams Nation. Enjoy the season. Enjoy every waking moment. Enjoy this day. Enjoy these press conferences. Enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Don't look too far ahead, because you might miss a few things. All right. That's going to do it for now.